El Dorado is known by Europeans to describe a mythical tribal chief of the Muiscanari people of Colombia, who covered himself with gold dust and submerged in the lake Guatavita. The legend surrounding El Dorado changed over time, as it went from being a city to a kingdom, and then, finally, an empire. A second location for El Dorado was deduced from rumors which inspired several unsuccessful expeditions in the 16th century in search of a city called Manoa on shores of the Lake Paraguay.
The history of the Great Whale of South America begins in Panama, when the conqueror Vasco Núñez de Balboa embarked the first expedition through the inside of Istmo. In this way, the Spanish crossed paths with many tribes of Comare Indian. The story said that Núñez did the shoring out of gold. The men started fighting because the shares were different. In that moment, Panqueao, the son of Comare, said that he was friend of peace and for him the gold doesn't matter. But if they wanted gold, he would show them where the gold was. Then the expedition starts, and when they found another tribes, they told them histories of a tribe that had a city of gold. That the members of that tribe didn't go there because it was very dangerous, and it was unknown the location of the
The
city.
desire to possess any amount of gold seemed to have led to anyone wanting more. In the 6th and 17th centuries, Europeans believed that somewhere in America there was a golden city known as El Dorado. Expeditions to find the city took countless lives, drove at least one man to suicide, and another man was executed. But this golden city hasn't been found yet. There's a story of an explorer called Walter Raleigh, who made 2 trips to Guyana to search for El Dorado. During his second trip in 1617, he sent his son Walter Raleigh with an expedition up the Orinoco River. But Walter stayed behind at the base camp on the island of Trinidad. The expedition went really wrong. Watt was killed in a battle with Spaniards. Walter was furious at the survivors who informed him of Watt's death and accused him of letting his son be killed. The survivor went to his cabin and killed himself. When Walter returned to England, King James ordered to execute him for not avoiding conflicts with the Spanish.
I was born in Mexico. My family introduced me to our culture and named me Atlantesec. When I turned 10, I started preparing for my big step to manhood, but they had to explain me the stories of our culture and our gods of the Asian tribes, and well, also the new tribes. Of course, they told me the stories about El Dorado. My family and I believe in El Dorado, and according to the myths, it is in the north of Brazil, and it's a city with lots of history. It is sacred in our culture, and we consider it important, but we don't know exactly where it is. The golden rite of manhood, which chiefs had to pass through before they began their reign, and well, in this rite, the early chiefs had to spend 6 years in a cave while they only could eat vegetables, not meat. They also couldn't see the sunlight for these 6 years. The gods said they couldn't.
Action. 40 years ago, my grandfather and his group found a horizontal line above sea level. This line registers the water level of an extinct lake. This was because 700 years ago it began to drain due to the tectonic movement. To complete the draining, in June of 1690, an earthquake opened a bedrock fault, forming a rift that permitted the water to flow into the Rio Grande. By the early 19th century, it had dried up completely.